Good evening, welcome to the studio this evening, where we've got the last few things to do on this cottage before we complete this particular piece. So some of what needs to be done is to do a little bit of work on the horizon on both sides to just lighten up some of the green a little bit, and then some work that needs to be done on the roof, but that, and then a little bit of work to be done, something to do with the windows, just to make them look like they have panes of glass in. Apart from that, we are quite close to finishing. So I'll just zoom in a little on the work area, and then I shall carry on. Okay, right. Actually, one of the things I will just do is change my glasses. Now I just want to extend this light grass area downwards a little bit. Blend it in so it fades from light to dark. So I don't particularly want to be very heavy-handed about it. I just want to fade it in a little so it doesn't look quite so much like it's a straight line. Now I'm not trying to turn the green back to being white, so I am just trying to fade a little bit of it away. This camera's not quite focused. Having a little bit of problem, I think, with the green for some reason, but that doesn't look too bad. So the way to fade it in is really not the camera's having a problem with the green. Is to do random scratches, not try and do it lightly, but to do few of them. Because just like doing the white, the more scratches in a particular area, the brighter it looks. Well, it's kind of the same here with the green. The more lighter scratches in an area, the closer to white it will look. So I am literally just trying to fade it out. at the moment. I've now got sort of a line across, so I just want to make sure I don't end up with a line. It doesn't look too bad on that side now. Now I want to do the same on this side. It looks as a little bit too white, too light a grass in the background. So now I just want to fade that into the darker green. Okay. Doesn't look too bad. It looks lopped. Yeah, that looks a bit. What I'm trying to say is that looks okay. I'll do a little bit more work on it. I'm not quite happy with it, but I'm not too far off. And also what I want to do is there's a dark area across here, which I don't mind too much, but I want to just lighten some of it up a little bit, which I just need to do by adding in a few more scratches so it doesn't look quite as dark as it did. Okay, that's better. It now reasonably sort of fades into the background. So now the next thing now is to work on the roof a little, which is really just filling in some of the dark lines in between the existing scratches on the roof. So between the reeds, just working lightly. This roof looks, the reeds look like brand new reeds, and yet the roof itself looks like an old roof. It looks like an old roof because the reeds are sort of hanging over the edges around here, sort of very ragged looking edges, and over sort of some of the bits of the eaves here, which is a characteristic of old thatched roofs, whereas these the rest of the roof here looks like fairly new reeds because they're really well defined. There's a little bit of a you know, a new old mix which doesn't look quite right. Chosen07, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that made a big difference to it. Did the grass? I'll zoom out and give you a better view. Especially on this side, it really made it stand out. Let's see if I can give you. I'll zoom it a bit more. There we go. I thought, just for the minute there, I thought, what has happened to my face cam? And I've just realised to put something in front of it. So yeah, I think the grass made certainly on both sides, really made a big difference to this, and really sets off the cottage, and give it a real three-dimensional look, which it kind of didn't quite have before. Okay, yeah, thank you. I'll do some work on this roof. As I was mentioning, so I'll just zoom in a little. So this will have an effect of lightening the roof a little bit, which is not quite what I was after, but it's not bad. But I want the roof to look more less straight, so you can see less of the sharp scratches and more of a slightly fluffy texture. Steve-O, good evening, welcome. I see, I think you gave up on was it Farm Expert 16 or whichever it was. Thank you very much. Oh, you I thought after the problem with the square bales, you'd had about enough of it. Surprisingly, okay, there's odd things about it, but surprisingly, it doesn't look too bad. I saw you. Yeah, I saw you seemed to be streaming some form of war type simulation, but I was eating my tea at the time, so yeah. I just it just looked like it was just one thing too far. I didn't say much, but I did watch most. Well, the stream was on for most of the afternoon. I was listening more than I was watching because I was at work. But I'm not sure if you. So I'll just zoom out and let you have a look at how far it's got so far, Steve. So we applied the green ink, which you missed yesterday, and then having applied the green ink, once it had dried, I scratched a little bit of it away on the horizon, which helps with the illusion of making it look a long way away, because as you go into the distance, colours get paler and sort of misty like, and that helps to make it you think it's a lot further away. but I am really rather pleased with the grass on this. It's really made a heck of a big difference to the look of the cottage. And now just tidying up the roof a little bit. Not far off actually finishing this. So at the moment the roof is just too well defined for a relatively old roof, so I need to make it less well defined. So it's really just light scratches to fill in some of the dark areas between the heavy scratches. And because I'm unlikely to be very uniform about doing this, it will also possibly give a slight impression of maybe moss or something on the roof, which is another indicator of an old roof. So you can see it's starting to look sort of woolly is sort of the word I'm giving. It's sort of a soft sort of thing. It's not really hard, sharp edges like you've got on these reeds here. So how are you finding the streaming on YouTube then, Steve? It seems to be quite a few people getting interested in the launch for when it does launch. So, what's your experience? Are you getting more people watching you over there now, or? You seem, from the comments you've been making during streaming, you seem to like it more than this place. Yeah, that's good. And you stream using, I think you use XSplit, don't you? Can you stream or are you streaming using XSplit, or is it a completely its own streaming system? Double figures. Ooh, that's a heck of a lot better than I do, even over here. You could kind of, I mean, if you had the bandwidth or the capability of doing it, you could kind of do with doing a few dual streams, stream to both platforms, and so get people used to being on YouTube. Because I gather the chat response is a lot faster there as well, so people will start maybe to see that and want to go over there. I don't want to do too much around the edges down here because they've got a ragged look, and if I start filling in too much around them on the edges, it will lose that ragged look. It's nice to sort of just see the little reeds sort of poking out at the ends. I've no particular end point in mind for this, as as if I do this, it'll be done. It's really just a case of when I've done enough, I'll just arbitrarily say, okay, that's it, I've done, without actually sort of having a definite sort of look. It will just be, I will just get to a point where either I'm getting hung up on doing little tiny details that don't really that aren't really worth the time, or I will just go, you know what, I like it how it is, and sometimes I'll just get to that point and I'll just sit back like this and I'll go, I'll just leave that. So there's no real way, almost no real way to sort of say it is done. I mean, I know I'm close to it being done, but I couldn't exactly say in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. We're getting quite a mossy looking look on the roof now in some of these areas, which is what I'm after. Don't exactly know what's producing it, but it is looking that way. Going to sharpen this tip a little bit, I think. I think that that's a. I was about to say I think this roof is just about done. I'd like this. It's a little bit dark. I need to just lighten up around here a little bit. The darkness, sort of the patchy light and dark areas also give it an impression of sort of an uneven surface. You know, it's got waves and things in it as sort of bits of reeds have broken away. So I didn't want it to sort of look too depressed. Okay, now I need to do something about these windows. I need to make it look like there's glass in them. So I need some sort of very sort of fine grey on them, just to give sort of an impression of something being there. I mean, I'm a little bit wary though. So I've got light from the top right. So if I'm going to get anything at all, it's going to be sort of bottom left of the windows. And because of the bars that's in there, and this is quite a deep sunk window, so I'm probably only going to get sort of this pane and a little bit of these two panes here, the two diagonal ones, with any sort of light on them. And the bar in the middle is quite dim anyway, so that's going to be the difficulty here in getting something really really light. So light as in fine. I'm reversing things, so really light means really dark. Sort of a light touch, I suppose. Just enough to look vaguely coloured, or vaguely grey. I'm currently trying to be really light here. Do sort of like a dotted line. So as I try and do scratches that aren't quite there. Which I might not show up on camera, but I've actually done. See if I can. Now you can see these in person, but you can't actually see them here on the camera. You might just sort of vaguely see what looks to be a sort of a light, just a vaguely lighter area across the corner there, and another one just in this bottom edge. This one I'm not sure you can see at all, but in person it's a really just light scratches. Fear Reaper, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Thank you. So I think what I'll do is, and that's wow. Oh, yeah. I think I'll watch you up on the camera on stream. I'm going to do the same thing with these windows here. It's kind of just enough to show that there's a pane when you see it in person. There's actually a window pane there. Which is all I really want to do. I quite like that black window. I'm not sure whether it's an abandoned cottage or not, but certainly sort of the intention is that you can't see inside. You know, you can see that with the doorway, you can see in the doorway, but then it quickly fades to black, and I'm not sure why the doorway is open, whether it's somebody just stepped out or whether it's abandoned, something like that. But I kind of want to make sure we see some sort of glass, but I don't really want it to sort of be grey or dusty or something like that. I want that black to show through. Indeed there is, Steve-O. Indeed there is. Yes, it is Fear Reaper, and in fact that's kind of what we're doing now with the windows. I think that is going to be the final things. It's just these two windows. I'm not going to touch the black background at all. I think it makes it a lot more powerful being just pure black like that, with the green throwing the cottage forward. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do. Well, I think what I might do for the rest of the stream, because this obviously will finish in the next few minutes, this piece, is do that kit that I've got. On this top window here, although this isn't set deep into the frame, we have got the shadow of the thatched roof over the top, which will shadow a lot of that window anyway. So I've just a little bit in the corner. On this one we've gone sort of almost 3/4, sorry, almost half of the window has been scratched very lightly. This one, it's just down in the bottom corner. This one's quite a deep window as well, so I think we'll sort of have more or less the same sort of idea. Most of this pane and about a third of this one. I think I'll probably leave these two all together. No, they need it a little bit. Just in doing this one, so you can't actually see. I did the bottom two panes and they didn't look quite right, so I've done a little bit of this top left hand pane as well. But I think I'm going to call this one done. So let me zoom this out. Unfortunately I can't show you some of these really fine details, but I'll zoom it out a little bit more. And there we go. I am really pleased with that. There's something about it, for me anyway, there's something about that which is just a little bit mysterious, and sort of the few things that really stand out to me is this edge here. Somehow it really looks like this front wall is really standing proud of that grass behind it. I don't know what it is about it, but it really looks to stand forward, and that's just one of the things which I think looks really good to me on this. And coincidentally, what we're getting from the top right here is one of my lights in the room here is just casting a little bit of a glare, but it's acting rather like a sunlight onto this. You can see if I move it, but just as I had it there, it was just sort of lighting the roof quite nicely. Now that's interesting, and I think I'm going to leave it. I've just noticed an area here, and it's an area which at first well, it just looks like the mortar's a little bit thinner. When I look at the scratching here, it's a little bit darker. And these stones all line up. That was accidental, and I could do something about that, but I'm kind of thinking of leaving it. It's almost as though these stones on the outside were added, so it was built to that edge, and then for some reason these got added on the outside, either to support the wall, or maybe there was something on the side that got taken away and these got put on afterwards. But I think I'm going to leave it just as a point of interest, just something there sort of tells a story or hints at a story, which you kind of notice as an additional detail when you look sort of a second or a third time, which is always a good thing to do. If there's something new that you see every time you look at a picture, then it keeps your interest for a lot longer. So I think that's done. I'm trying to decide if it's moonlight or sunlight. It would have to be very bright moonlight, but it's still got a sort of a slight moonlight look about it as well. I'm not sure. I don't know what you guys, whether you guys have got any particular impressions of it, or what it says to you about it. But there we go. Right. So we've got a little bit of time. So I don't really want to start. It'll be probably Punchcraft will be what I'll do tomorrow night, but I don't really want to start that tonight. So what I'm going to do, I think, is my lovely beautiful wife bought me this as a Christmas present. So I'm going to just do this commercial kit. We'll see what it looks like. Same sort of idea, only this, instead of having the white porcelain clay in it, it's got a silver foil behind the black. So we shall see what this looks like. I'll just take my gloves off so I can actually get into the packaging. And I'm going to put this away safe now. What I'm going to have to do is get some acrylic varnish, which you can spray, or I can spray over the top of Scraperboard like this. And what that will do is it will protect you from things like finger marks and things like that, but it will also seal the surface so that it's more scratch resistant. And you won't accidentally, if you catch it with something, it won't, unless you catch it with quite hard, it won't actually accidentally scratch. It's a great reference. What's a great reference for you, Reaper? Okay, so in the box, or in the container, I've got this, which is a pre-printed sheet, which appears to have on the bottom a tear off piece, which is for practice. So we'll tear that off. and a piece of white card, which I think was just protecting the surface. So we'll just bend this and it should basically snap off, which it has. That's a practice, little practice card, and they give just a single tool, which is well, it's not quite as good quality as those, but these are, they're just plastic. You know, there's nothing especially high quality about these. It's just a bit of plastic in which the nib pushes in. I suspect this is pressed in, so I'm not going to try and pull it out. But so I put my gloves on again. Now the surface on this one is matte rather than shiny. So we'll try the practice. But effectively, there's just lines, and I guess the idea is just to scrape the lines off. So thin lines and thicker lines. So the idea, I'm guessing, is to get rid of the grey. Feels a little bit odd. It's a bit like I'm scraping clay away. I've got no real feel for whether I'm actually in contact with the silver foil board or not. Yeah, there's, this is the kind of kit that you do see in sort of craft shops or the sort of thing. Well, we've in our local garden centre, they have a craft shop, and they sell this sort of thing in there as well. I'm actually finding it surprisingly difficult. I don't know if it's. Let me try a different tool. That one. I'm actually finding it quite difficult to do compared to doing the type of board with the porcelain clay. It's a little bit better with this tool. This one seems a bit, I don't know, the shape of it I wasn't perhaps getting on with. This one seems a little bit easier to get on with. I'm going to go for this. Yeah, the eye didn't really want to scrape away. This kind of like wants to almost fall off. I'm glad I decided actually to try doing this on the practice board. First. I'm not really very happy with the with doing this. It seems harder to work with than the board I was using. And I certainly don't feel as comfortable using it. Excuse me. The grey, well, I presumably the black and then the grey over the top, is actually stuck down really hard on this. No, it's not. I don't like it. It's really hard to do. I'm trying quite hard to do a shall we say, quality job with this. I'm not. I'm not trying to rush it or anything like that. And I'm hoping this isn't an indication then of what the silver, because I've got from the SD people who make the Scraperboard I was using, the clay board. I've got some silver foil versions of that. I'm actually hoping it's not as difficult to use as this is, because I was hoping the silver would produce a sort of a really nice almost moonlit effect because of the shininess. As it stands at the moment, I'm kind of disappointed in a way. Yeah, Fear Reaper, it really does. It feels quite difficult to use. Now, of course, I am used to using the other boards, so there's a little bit of reorientation, shall we say. to using this one. But even so, well, if there's anybody out there that's tried this sort of kit and been disappointed with the results, I think actually there was somebody in my stream the other night, unfortunately I can't remember who it was, that had tried a kit like this and didn't think they'd got great results, and were sort of interested in my scratch board, and but didn't think they'd get a good result. I would certainly say at this point there is a significant difference. I'm finding this quite difficult to do, which the Scraperboard I'm not finding, well, I didn't find difficult at all. It's really easy to scratch. This is a bit like trying to scrape paint off a piece of wood. You're almost having to scrape it off in sort of 2 or 3 layers. I could see doing this is going to actually would take longer to do than the cottage has. Well, based on me just working on this little bit of test board, and there's no reason why the main board should be any different, if I was reviewing it, I kind of probably would say don't bother. Try the real stuff. I know this is real stuff, but try the black sorry, the porcelain clay version. I'm not even sure whether I'm getting not sure whether I'm scraping through the silver because there's like white I'm not sure whether I scraped through. I don't know if you can see some of those areas look white and some look silver. I'm not actually sure whether I scraped through the silver foil and gone into the backing paper, which I kind of think I have. It's really I'm going to try with their tool for this. I am totally puzzled. Since this particular board is matte, I can turn that light around and maybe that'll help. Okay, I kind of think I understand now why they've used a tip like they've used on here as like a rugby ball type tip, I think. I'm about to say because it doesn't really have a sharp point, so it's not very easy to dig through. But I think I probably am doing that anyway. Yeah, the silver foil there is really thin. And I'm very easily going straight through it and going onto the white backing. Yes it is. What it's supposed to be, Fear Reaper, is a white backing board, silver foil on the top, and then black ink over that, or the black coating, and then they print over the top of it in this white the image that you're supposed to scratch out. What I'm doing, I'm not trying hard or pressing hard, is I'm going straight through the silver foil into the white backing. And I'm really not trying. I am trying my best not to do that. But I'm not succeeding really well. I wonder. what I was just wondering here is whether this grey area is actually thinner than the black. No, it's not. The black does scratch off quite easily. Right down here. So I can scratch the black off. Quite easily. And I've got a silver reflection there, but the white is kind of quite hard compared to the black, and to sort of get no, you don't. Yeah.
You shouldn't come through to the right.
Just excuse me a minute, guys. I'm going to get some advice from somebody who's done one of these before. Okay, I am back, guys. I chose. Well, I'm going to try, but it's not fantastically really successful because I finished the cottage. So, you know, the dog is a kit which I got given for Christmas,
Only because of the
and so I'd kind of like to have a go at trying to do it. My wife is telling me it wasn't a very good quality kit. And there is possibly a significant difference between a good quality kit and something that isn't.
only a couple of pound more.
So
It's like £1 versus £5.
yeah, no, I understand. She's sort of telling me that this is sort of well, in terms of price of kits, if you like, in a craft shop you might find a kit that's something like this for £5, whereas this apparently came from a shop where everything's a pound type of thing, and therefore is the quality of it possibly isn't up to scratch. Yeah, I just got prompted with a scratch there, and it's kind of appropriate, pun intended. And I really am sort of struggling to do this. And it's sort of, I am kind of disappointed because if this really was somebody's introduction to Scraperboard or scratch art, I can easily see why they give up, because the quality of that, okay, you guys have seen the 3 images that I've done with Scraperboard. I don't think they're bad. With this kit, I could not do anything even remotely to that level of quality.
It's the shop.
I am really struggling to do anything decent. And it's not okay. The black is on this board here. It's already got scratches on it. Very well, you can't see them, but very light scratches on there where the black has chipped off, or just been scratched with almost nothing because there was a piece of cardboard over the top. It's very lightly coated, shall we say. In fact, I suspect, yeah, I can scratch it with my fingernail, which I can't. Well, I've not actually tried, but it does take more effort than that on the one board I was just using, with a sharp tool. So I don't think particularly I'd get scratch the board with a fingernail unless I tried reasonably hard. Here it's really easy, but the grey, which you're supposed to scrape off, it's thick and it's just not scraping off. And in fact, what's happening is I'm actually scraping off the black between the grey lines, which I don't think is what was intended, because some of the areas of the face on the dog, for example, is virtually solid grey. So if you were intended to scrape off between the grey lines, then it wouldn't be solid grey, because that'll look black, not white as it's supposed to do. And you'd be scraping off the eyes, not the highlights on the eyes. And my wife, who has done some quality kits. Now this was just a fun present, so it wasn't intended to to be any sort of representation. But my wife, who has done quality kits, has said that this is nothing like it. It's she could quite easily do it on the other kits that she's tried. So this one is definitely not representative. And I find it almost impossible to scrape the grey off and leave just foil underneath. I'm actually scraping through the foil as well, which means the foil must be really fine on here as well. Now this tool also isn't, well, it's not particularly sharp, and in theory it shouldn't really need it, given that I can use a fingernail on here, but I have actually got to put quite a bit of pressure into doing this to get that grey off. It's a great pity. Sorry?
I was looking to see if there's any line.
Oh no, it's okay. I have some silver foil, proper silver foil stuff, so I can always try that. You won't find any there of yours. Now, the instant I get through the grey, I immediately go straight through the foil as well. So there we go. There we go, guys. I'm not actually. Don't think I'll even.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. It's not your fault. I don't think I'm even going to try and do the dog on there. I mean, I may well try and do a dog on some of the other Scraperboard that I've got, just to see the difference. But I'm not. I don't think I'm going to try this one, just because it will actually look absolutely terrible, and that's kind of discouraging. And no, to be honest, not the sort of thing I want to show sort of terrible art on the stream. So unfortunately, we're not going to do that. But I think we'll leave that one as it is, which is unfortunate. Would have been nice to just have a go, but I don't think it's going to be worth that. So we shall just put that to one side, and what I'm going to do is rather than start anything else. Sorry? Oh, they've seen things. What I'm going to do is say it's what now? It's coming up to 10 to 10, so we're not far off the normal end of stream anyway. So I think what we'll do is we'll call it the end of stream there. We'll let you, as the sort of final thing, we'll just bring the cottage back, so that we get to see, well, hopefully a decent piece of art. At the end. Yep. See you later, Steve. Thank you for dropping in and for streaming as well. It's fun watching you. So I'm going to call it with that. We've finished the cottage. We'll probably look at maybe some punchcraft tomorrow. Not quite sure what I'll do, but might do another locomotive just to make a pair. So thank you all for watching. If there is anybody watching that's not following, I would of course appreciate you doing that. You can also follow me on Twitter for notifications when I go live. The details are below the stream window on the end plate, and it's at Zerriganart. Or simply catch me in 22 hours time at approximately 8 PM UK, 1900 hours GMT, or as I mentioned about 2 hours ago was 8 o'clock, that time tomorrow. Thank you all, have a good evening and see you later. Bye bye.